It's just that I have a girlfriend, and again, like, I completely get that, but like,
you're being kind of an asshole, actually. So
I'm not being an ass. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you how it is.
Do you think I'm not pretty or something?
What?
Do you think I'm not pretty? Or like...
No,
Because that's usually not a problem.
Listen, you kind of twisted my arm here. I'm not, again, I'm not getting into this conversation. I'm just telling you that, like, no.
The perception that modern women have a harder time dealing with rejection is a complex issue, influenced by a confluence of societal, psychological, and historical factors.
And that's it. So I'm sorry you're making me kind of uncomfortable. I'm kind of going to get out of here.
Whatever. That's fine, actually. Never mind. Please don't give me your number, actually.
All right, well.
Please.
This is a prime example of a woman that doesn't understand that this is most men. I said it, most men are good men. But there are so many women out there that believe the opposite. This is clearly one of them because she just cannot understand his answers. And I think it is clearly reflective of her own values. So much so that even if that man didn't have a girlfriend, he would have lost all potential attraction.
While individual responses to rejection vary widely regardless of gender, certain trends and pressures may contribute to a heightened sensitivity among some women in contemporary society. One significant factor is the evolving landscape of gender roles and expectations. Historically, women's societal roles were often more circumscribed, with less emphasis on individual achievement in competitive public spheres. As women have increasingly entered and excelled in traditionally male-dominated domains, like professional careers and leadership positions, the stakes associated with rejection in these areas may feel higher. The pressure to prove competence and overcome historical biases can make setbacks, including rejection, feel like a personal failure or a confirmation of lingering societal prejudices, rather than a normal part of life or a learning opportunity. Furthermore, the pervasive influence of social media and curated online personas can exacerbate feelings of inadequacy when faced with rejection. Platforms that emphasize outward success, perfect appearances, and constant validation can create an environment where any form of rejection, whether in dating, career, or social interactions, is amplified and internalized as a public failure rather than a private experience.
That's it.
I'm the only female in my company right now.
The whole company.
The whole company.
And that's around 300, 400 people, right?
It's pretty small right now just because we just got back from deployment. So the fact that my senior Marines, your NCOs, they just didn't like that I was there because male pride is real. I think all pride is real.
When women are socially rejected, they can't take it. Men, it's normal. Men aren't really talked to like that. The challenge you get, women have a tendency to take it more personal and seek vengeance.
The development of this phenomenon can be traced back to several social shifts. The rise of various waves of feminism, while undeniably empowering women and expanding their opportunities, may have inadvertently contributed to certain pressures. Early feminist movements focused on achieving equality in legal and economic spheres, challenging traditional gender roles that confined women to domesticity. While successful in many respects, this push for equality also introduced new expectations for women to excel in all areas of life, career, relationships, and personal fulfillment. The idea of having it all can create immense pressure, and when faced with rejection in any of these domains, it can feel like a failure to live up to these elevated expectations. Moreover, the emphasis on individual agency and self-actualization, a core tenet of modern feminism, can sometimes lead to a greater sense of personal responsibility for outcomes. While empowering, this can also mean that rejection is interpreted more as a personal failing rather than an external circumstance or a mismatch of needs. The cultural narrative often promotes resilience and overcoming obstacles, but the emotional toll of repeated rejections, especially when perceived as undermining one's identity or capabilities, can be significant. The shift from a collectivist to a more individualistic society also plays a role. In more traditional, community-oriented societies, individuals might have had stronger support networks and a clearer sense of their place, which could buffer the impact of personal rejections. Modern society, with its emphasis on individual achievement and often fragmented social connections, can leave individuals feeling more isolated when facing setbacks.
Here's the difference, right? Like, guys get slapped in the face every day with the cold, hard, brutal truth of the world, and that's through the rejection. Whereas women don't really deal with rejection on the front end. Women deal with rejection on the back end. So basically that's like when you get zoned, when a guy's not willing to commit to you or he keeps you as a side chick. That's where women get rejected on the back end.
Men's perceived ability to handle rejection better is often attributed to their more frequent exposure to it throughout their lives, particularly in the context of dating and courtship. From a young age, boys are often socialized to be more assertive and to initiate interactions, especially with potential romantic partners. This often involves facing numerous rejections, which can, over time, build a certain level of resilience or desensitization. The traditional male role often involves pursuing women, and this pursuit inherently carries a high probability of rejection. This repeated exposure can lead to a more pragmatic view of rejection as a numbers game, a necessary part of the process, or simply a sign of incompatibility rather than a fundamental flaw in oneself. Furthermore, societal expectations for men often emphasize stoicism and emotional resilience. Expressing vulnerability or distress over rejection might be seen as a sign of weakness, leading men to internalize their feelings or develop coping mechanisms that appear outwardly more robust. This is not to say men don't feel rejection deeply, but their societal conditioning may lead to different outward expressions and internal processing of it. The men-up mentality, while increasingly challenged, still subtly influences how men are expected to react to setbacks. The competitive nature of many male-dominated activities, from sports to professional careers, also exposes men to frequent wins and losses, successes and failures, which foster a mindset where rejection is viewed as a temporary setback rather than a definitive end. This constant negotiation of competition and outcome can build a tolerance for not always getting what one wants.
Putting yourself out on TikTok, like creating videos, is like rejection therapy. Especially if you're doing something like sharing your opinion or your own personal experience, because people are ruthless. So it's kind of like my own personal experience using social media as a method to grow spiritually, because I start to see any place that I'm holding fears around how people perceive me or any defenses in trying to shift someone's idea of me. Like, how fearless can I be in expressing who I am and being vulnerable and honest and just really human moment to moment and sharing that with everybody. And then whenever I receive how people receive me, not taking it on, not taking it personally. I mean, it is a thing.
The concept of high-value men and high-value women in dating discourse, while often problematic, reflects a growing selectivity based on perceived worth and compatibility. Changing priorities. Modern men, like modern women, are increasingly focused on career, personal development, and other life goals. Dating and relationships may not always be their top priority, leading them to be more selective about who they dedicate their limited time and energy to. The rise of single-by-choice narratives among both genders reflects a broader societal trend of prioritizing individual fulfillment over traditional relationship milestones. The proliferation of dating apps has also played a role. While these platforms offer a vast pool of potential partners, they also facilitate a swipe culture where individuals are constantly evaluating and being evaluated. This can lead to a more superficial and transactional approach to dating, where rejection becomes a frequent and often impersonal occurrence. For men, the sheer volume of options and the ease of moving on to the next profile can contribute to a higher rate of rejection of advances, as they are constantly presented with new choices and may hold out for what they perceive as a better match. This environment can also foster a sense of disillusionment, as the abundance of choice doesn't necessarily translate to higher quality connections, leading to a more cynical approach to dating and a greater willingness to reject those who don't immediately meet specific criteria. In conclusion, while the experience of rejection is universal, various societal and psychological factors may contribute to modern women perceiving it as more challenging. This is influenced by evolving gender roles, the pressures of having it all, the impact of social media, and the individualistic nature of modern society. Conversely, men's perceived resilience to rejection is often linked to their historical role as initiators in dating and the societal emphasis on stoicism. The changing landscape of dating, including women's increased assertiveness and men's growing selectivity due to past experiences and evolving priorities, further shapes these dynamics. Understanding these multifaceted influences is crucial for fostering greater empathy and developing healthier coping mechanisms for rejection across all genders. So what do you think? Ladies really have a harder time when it comes to dealing with rejection by men? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.